Have you ever considered the power of your personal narrative? What if the stories you tell yourself can shape your reality? Welcome to the fascinating world of narrative therapy, a psychological concept that delves deep into the power of personal narratives and storytelling. Imagine your life as a book, with every experience, every thought, every emotion making up the words, sentences, and chapters of your story. Now imagine being able to rewrite those chapters, particularly the ones that have been causing you distress, pain, or discomfort. That is what narrative therapy is all about. It's an approach that focuses on reshaping personal narratives or stories. It's not about denying the reality of your experiences, but rather it's about looking at them from a different perspective. It's about rewriting your narrative in a way that empowers you, that gives you hope, and that fosters change. Think about it. The language we use, the stories we tell ourselves, they greatly influence our thoughts and behaviors. They can either limit us or liberate us. They can either keep us stuck in a negative cycle or propel us forward towards growth and healing. Narrative therapy recognizes this profound influence. It doesn't just focus on the problem at hand, but takes a broader look at how the problem is framed within the context of your life story. It helps you identify and challenge the negative narratives that have been holding you back. But it's not just about challenging the negatives, it's also about highlighting the positives, the exceptions, the unique outcomes. It's about acknowledging your strengths, your resilience, your capacity to cope, and your potential for change. And the most empowering part, you're not just a passive participant in this process, you're an active collaborator. You're the author of your narrative and you have the power to rewrite it. So whether you're dealing with a mental health issue, a personal challenge, or simply seeking to enhance your well-being, narrative therapy can offer a fresh, empowering approach. Narrative therapy is about recognizing the power of your personal narrative and using it to foster positive changes in your life. Imagine if you could view your problems as separate from your identity. Wouldn't that make them easier to tackle? This is precisely what the concept of externalization in narrative therapy encourages us to do. It's about seeing those pesky issues not as inherent parts of ourselves, but as external entities. Quite an interesting concept, isn't it? Now let's delve a bit deeper into this. When we consider our problems as inseparable from our own selves, we tend to get overwhelmed. It's like carrying a heavy backpack up a mountain. The weight is constant, pressing down on us, making every step harder. But what if we could set that backpack down for a bit, examine it, and figure out how to lighten the load? That's what externalization does. It allows us to set down our problems, to look at them from a different perspective. It's like saying, this problem isn't me. It's something that's happening to me. This subtle shift in perception can make a world of difference. It helps us separate our identities from the issues we're dealing with. We're no longer the anxious one or the person with anger issues. Instead, we're individuals who are dealing with anxiety or trying to manage anger. This perspective, this externalization, empowers us. It puts us in a position to address our issues without feeling defined by them. We're not boxing with our shadows anymore. We're in the ring with a separate opponent, one we can study, strategize against, and ultimately overcome. But remember, externalization isn't about denying the problem or pretending it doesn't exist. Quite the contrary. It's about acknowledging its existence, but refusing to let it consume us. It's about understanding that we are more than the sum of our troubles. So if you ever find your problems weighing you down, try externalizing them. See them as separate entities, not as definitions of your identity. It might just give you the perspective you need to tackle them more effectively. Externalizing your troubles allows you to confront them without letting them define who you are. So, shall we move on to the next step in our narrative journey? What if you could rewrite your story, emphasizing your strengths and achievements? Imagine for a moment that you're an author and your life is the novel you're crafting. In narrative therapy, this is precisely what you're encouraged to do. And this process, my friends, is called reauthoring the narrative. Reauthoring is all about taking a step back from your story, looking at it with fresh eyes, and then rewriting it in a way that highlights your strengths, achievements, and positive aspects. It's about challenging and transforming those negative self-perceptions that have been holding you back. It's about finding the silver linings, the unseen victories, and the hidden strengths in your narrative and bringing them to the forefront. But you might ask, how does one go about doing this? Well, let me introduce you to the concept of unique outcomes. Unique outcomes are these wonderful little exceptions to your problem. They are instances when you've responded differently or coped successfully, even if you didn't realize it at the time. Imagine you're afraid of public speaking and you usually stumble over your words, but there was this one time when you delivered a toast at your best friend's wedding without a hitch. That, my friend, is a unique outcome. It's a moment when you broke free from your usual pattern, a moment that offers a glimpse of what's possible. Identifying these unique outcomes is a crucial step in the reauthoring process. They serve as proof that you have the capacity to overcome your challenges. They provide a foundation for change, a solid ground from which you can start rewriting your story. So, let's take that pen and begin to rewrite. Let's highlight the times you triumphed, the moments you showed resilience, the instances when you surprised yourself with your strength. Let's weave these unique outcomes into your narrative, creating a tapestry of personal victories and successes that overshadow your struggles. By recognizing your unique outcomes and reframing your narrative, you begin to see a more positive and empowered version of your story. You start to see yourself not as a victim of your circumstances, but as the author of your own triumphant tale. Did you know that you are the author of your life story, and that you can rewrite it in a way that empowers you? It's a bold question, but it's the very essence of the fourth key component of narrative therapy: reclaiming authorship. Imagine yourself as a seasoned writer, pen in hand, ready to script the tale of your life. You're not just jotting down events as they happen, no, you're crafting a narrative that shapes your understanding of yourself and your world. This isn't about creating a work of fiction, but rather about recognizing that your perspective, your experiences, and your reactions are all elements you can influence. Reclaiming authorship is about taking active control of your narrative, and it's a powerful tool in the quest for personal growth. You see, when you position yourself as the author, you're no longer a passive character at the mercy of life's plot twists. Instead, you become an active participant, capable of steering your story towards a more empowering and positive direction. But how does one go about rewriting their narrative? This is where the concept of rich description comes in. Rich description is about diving deep into the complexity of your experiences and emotions. It's about moving beyond the surface level, beyond the basic labels and categorizations we often use to define our experiences. Instead of simply saying, "I failed," you might explore the nuances of the situation. What led to the perceived failure? How did it make you feel? What did you learn from it? By examining the richness of your experiences, you can gain a more nuanced understanding of your life events. And with this understanding, you can start to see your narrative in a new light. You might find that what you initially perceived as a failure was in fact a stepping stone towards personal growth. You might realize that your resilience and determination are stronger than you thought. By exploring your narrative with rich description, you uncover hidden layers of meaning and potential. Reclaiming authorship of your narrative and exploring your experiences in rich detail allows you to understand and shape your life in more empowering and positive ways. So grab that proverbial pen and begin the journey of authoring your own narrative. So how can reshaping your narrative through narrative therapy make a difference in your life? Let's circle back and consider the key components we've discussed. Firstly, narrative therapy encourages the externalization of the problem. This crucial step allows us to separate our personal identity from the issue at hand. It's like taking a step back and seeing the problem as an entity of its own, not as an inherent part of ourselves. This perspective ultimately paves the way for a more objective and compassionate self-view. Secondly, we touched on reauthoring the narrative. This process involves reconstructing and reframing our personal stories, highlighting alternative perspectives and positive aspects. It's about challenging those negative self-perceptions that have been holding us back, and instead seeing ourselves in a new, empowering light. We also discussed the concept of unique outcomes. These are instances when we've responded differently or coped successfully, providing a solid foundation for change. It's about acknowledging our victories, no matter how small they may seem, and using them as building blocks for our new narrative. Furthermore, narrative therapy emphasizes on reclaiming authorship. It's about taking control of our own life story, shaping a narrative that reflects our strength, resilience, and growth. It's about writing a story that we can be proud of, one that empowers us rather than holds us back. Finally, we explored the use of rich description. This involves delving into the complexity of our experiences and emotions, fostering a nuanced understanding that goes beyond simplistic negative labels. It's about appreciating the richness and depth of our stories, the highs and lows, the triumphs and trials, and everything in between. The benefits of narrative therapy are profound. It's a collaborative and empowering approach that helps us reshape the stories we tell ourselves about our lives. By reframing our narratives, we can challenge and transform negative thoughts, fostering a more constructive and hopeful outlook. Through narrative therapy, you can harness the power of your personal narrative to create a more positive and empowered story of your life.